I left my metric crescent wrench inside because, you know, this is an SAE bolt. If I needed a metric one, I would just go inside and get the metric one, and that works out to 24 millimeters or so. So just make sure you're tightening it with the correct crescent wrench.
What we have here is a failure to communicate.
No, really, that's what we have here. A failure to communicate. So I've been putting up with this compromise for a few months now, a couple of months at least. Let's see, we're in February. I put this on at the beginning of December, and it's been doing okay. Look, it's a compromise, as all antennas are, right? But I was driving through Plymouth, Indiana this morning, and a repeater that I'm normally able to hit for miles and miles and miles became unreachable very shortly. So I know that I have to solve this problem. And the issue is that what I want, the bulletproof mount for the third brake light, it's a little bit on the offset right now in terms of expenditures. I don't really have a good place to put this lip mount, and I don't want to put it on the door. There's a number of reasons that I don't want to use this specific lip mount, or any lip mount for that matter, or fender mount for that matter, on this vehicle right now. What I want is to make use of this setup as best as I can. Now, I know that I have a stake pocket here, and that I can use that. And I thought I had a solution, but I don't. And that is, I know about the Breedlove offset mount. They make a mount that uses the stake pocket and it offsets it that way, but it's not NMO. And my antennas, at least my ground independent antennas, that's another reason I need to change this. This is not a ground independent antenna, I found out. The NMOs that I have won't fit on the Breedlove mount. They are UHF. What's the other threaded, whatever, I'll put it down there. I can't remember, that's 3/8 something. Anyhow, what to do? Like many amateurs, I am cheap and crafty. My thought is I'm going to make my own stake pocket offset mount that fits an NMO. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the NMO off of this lip mount and fit it into that, and then have it outside of the truck, and then I get my half-wave antenna back, ground independent, and it's a little bit off the side of the vehicle, so hopefully it helps with the projection of the pattern a little bit. We'll find out when I try it. Anyhow, I gotta get measurements for this, and I have another NMO inside of the garage that I can use as an example for the size that I need to fit in there. Let me get some measurements on that, and I'll go to the garage and start working something up. Being your typical ham, I keep scraps to do projects with, and so this is aluminum bars, 125 thou, so that's 1/8 of an inch. And I was hoping to use this for this project. The stake pocket is 2 1/4 one way, and then 1 3/4 the other way. And the way this would go would be oriented. You can see I already did something with it. Would go this way. So that means this piece of bar needs to be over 2 1/4, and it isn't. This piece of bar is 2 inches. So I'm gonna have to go to the hardware store. Sometimes we do have to buy material. It's always sad when we have to, right? I'm hoping that my local hardware store will have some, maybe 3-inch, and I can find a length that's not like 8 feet, because normally they sell this in like a 6-foot length, I think. I don't need that much of it, and I don't really want to pay for that much aluminum today. Let me go to the hardware store. Let's find out. Well, my local hardware store did not have at all what I needed. All they had was the same stuff I have, which is 2-inch, and necessity being the mother of invention. In this case, really not necessity, just more desire. I know how much time I have available today to get a project done. I don't know how much time I will have tomorrow or the day after, so I'm just trying to get this done so that it is out of the way. I decided to look at my garage for something that might be suitable, and came up with this. No, the mount will not be made out of this stuff. First of all, I think that the thickness of this being, I think, close to a 1/4 inch, I can probably caliper that and find out. Doesn't matter. Doesn't lend itself to the NMO mount that I have. So, and I actually think that this is barely thin enough, I think. I could be wrong. I'm going to use 2 pieces of this cut in a rectangle that fits inside of the pocket as a backing, and then I'm going to use bolts to pull this as a sandwich. So if you can envision this, the piece of this will be inside of the pocket on one side, inside of the pocket on the other side, and then the bolts will draw the thing together like a sandwich, and hopefully there's enough clamping force there to keep this mount going. Worst case scenario, I make a piece of scrap and it doesn't work out because, well, like as you see, I've already butchered this up a little bit already from other projects. Why do we keep these things if not to at least try, right? So let me sketch up something and I'll come back. So I cut a couple of pieces off that cutting board off. Before starting, I realized that there's this lip here. I'm going to use this lip to my advantage. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set this up in such a way that that lip becomes part of the grabbing mechanism on the inside of the pocket. That if the pocket, if this is the edge of the pocket, that lip is on the inside pressing up against it or trying to claw up against it, maybe hopefully give me a little bit more mechanical advantage. I'm just going to transfer the hole marks here. I don't remember what I had this for or how accurate I was about getting those holes done. So I'm just going to use a Sharpie to transfer the hole pattern to the corresponding part and then drill it out, put some bolts in it and see how it works. Let me explain a little bit better here. I'm going to mark this with 2 lines and then I'm going to mark this side with 1 line. That way I can track what piece goes on what side once I transfer the whole pattern. And I'm just going to eyeball this close enough, you know. I think an important bit is going to make sure that this is wider than the overall width of this needs to be over 2 1/4 inch, ideally like 2.5, so that there's at least 1/8 of an inch of engagement on these things on either side. So let's see what we have here. 2 3/4, actually almost 3. So that is going to work perfectly for my needs. I'm going to go drill these out, figure out what size bolt I used on this. I'm pretty sure that I used these. Yep, that's what I used. And I have a bin of these. I don't remember what size these are. I'll let you know in a minute. So these are M3, so 3mm, and I got an assortment of lengths whatever project. I don't remember what project I was doing with this. Now, a problem I just solved off camera is how to keep that nut from spinning when I'm trying to tighten it down because I have nothing to grab it with. I have no way of grabbing that. What I did is I made a recess for it in the material by pressing it. Let me show you what I did. I just take a larger nut so that the head of the bolt can get through. I set it in my vise and then I just tighten it until I see enough of the nut embedded into the plastic that it hopefully gives me the purchase I need. I don't know if this will work. I'm just winging it. I use these 2 for the set, and then now I'm going to take those out and use much longer ones for the actual kit. And now we have a way to try. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go outside, take you along with me. I want to see if I can fit this into the pocket, and if I can, I want to make sure that, you know, this actually is going to allow me to use an Allen key to tighten it, because it would really suck to finish all of this and make it all pretty and then find out that I can't fasten it to the vehicle. So I'll take the extra time now so that I'm not wasting time that I don't need to waste. Now comes the moment of truth. Will it blend? I suppose I don't have to feed this to the outside to test. Forgot to account for that. I need to make a hole or a notch for that wire to get through. Oh, man, am I going to be able to test at all? Nope, I'm not going to be able to test that. How can I test this without having to undo this entire antenna? Yeah, that's too much. Son of a biscuits. Womp, 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 womp. Proving yet again that you shouldn't assume things. Let me tell you what I did. Absolutely wrong. I assumed that the way this NMO mount worked is that the bottom of the mount would come up through that hole in the bracket, and then it is secured with the nut that goes above it. Well, apparently not. Apparently that nut sits on top of it and compresses it into the bracket. So I can't take this NMO mount out of the bracket to then mount it on my homemade doodad. I would rather find this out now than after I have the doodad made, proving yet again that you cannot fix stupid. When I put this antenna on that mount, I managed to cross thread it. So yeah, I am basically gonna have to take away this entire mount, bracket the whole kit and caboodle, coax out of the mix, and use something else, because obviously, well, I can try to fix this, but it might not work. I was literally about to record a video of giving up. I guess I screwed it up, and you know, and yes, I did screw it up. I'm overcomplicating crap, man. Why am I doing this to myself? All I need to do is fix this bit. If I fix this bit, which won't take me much, I can just use this edge with that mount. Done. All I have to do is get it out there. Now my hope is that this bar is long enough to get it outside of the cab with enough clearance for this base. That's really the ticket now. I gotta go measure that. Let me go do that before I start trying to figure this thing out. So I went and checked, and sure enough, this is barely long enough to get the job done. So I checked, and this barely makes the cut in terms of what I need. It may not even make the cut, but I'm going to try it. I'm going to give it a chance. I went ahead and cleaned up all the edges with a file and some sandpaper, and I went ahead and drilled a hole there to make room for the coax to notch into, and I also obviously didn't do a really good job of filing it. I need to go back and hit that a little bit more before I mount it, but basically I got all of this squared away, ready to go on the truck. I'm going to clean that edge up, both those sides, and then I'm going to go outside and get this mounted on the truck. I'll show you the net result. Hopefully it works. Better lucky than skilled, they say, and I happen to agree with them. I used the longest screws I had as a happenstance, because I was like, I don't know how much, I'm sure that's way too long, but I can deal with that. As it turns out, they were barely long enough to get the whole thing done. But as you can see, it's secured in there, and now I have this edge. I went ahead and took the lip mount off the bed lip. Next, I'm going to uncurl all this mess, because I have, fixed it with a wrench, so I need to go inside and get a 10 mil. But this should slip right there on the edge, and the antenna will go on the top. I gotta swivel this up. The next thing after that is gonna be, I gotta figure out if I can get that nut for the NMO off of here, and then figure out what cross-threaded, the antenna or the nut. My guess is that it's the nut, because it's brass and that's softer than whatever this material is. I'm guessing the antenna material is probably steel. If I'm lucky, it'll be something softer than brass, but I'm not betting on it. Worst case scenario, I take that same nut off of the mount that I have inside of the garage for my old Ranger pickup, and I still have a way of mounting an antenna there. Now we pray that we have just enough bite on that lip that I can untwist this. Oh my, I got lucky. I got very lucky. That's turning. Okay, and we are off it. And now comes the real check. Is this cross-threaded? This does not appear to be cross-threaded. Did I really luck out that much? Did the antenna cross-thread? Yeah, the antenna itself is cross-threaded. I can see right there. The camera won't pick that up, but that's okay. At least I have the part that goes on the other portion of the antenna mount to then get this antenna mounted. Let me double check here that this is not cross-threaded before I go try putting, 800-pound gorilla force behind it. Nope, it all free threads in. Oh, that's so great. Again, better lucky than skilled. Huh? Look at that. Look at that. It works. One bit of information that I want to give you is that this nut appears to be 15/16 is appears to be the width on the flats here for driving it. I didn't know what it would be, so I went ahead and brought out my SAE crescent wrench. I left my metric crescent wrench inside because, this is an SAE bolt. If I needed a metric one, I would just go inside and get the metric one, and that works out to 24 millimeters or so. So just make sure you're tightening it with the correct crescent wrench. And just like that, we have antenna. Now I just have to test it with the radio, but I'm sure it's going to be just fine. And now for the moment of truth. W9TE is a repeater in Fort Wayne. Fort Wayne is roughly 20 miles from here. Before, with the compromised, quarter wave antenna, I could barely make that repeater about halfway to Fort Wayne. Let's see if I can get it now. K9DEW testing, 7.6. That looks like full quieting to me. Until someone comes back to me, I won't know for sure. Let's try a different repeater. KD9DEW is in Warsaw, which is almost the same distance to the Fort Wayne repeater. K9DEW testing on KD9DEW repeater.
Welcome to the K9DEW repeater, located in Warsaw, Indiana.
That repeater may be farther than the Fort Wayne one. I don't know. I have to go look. I'll put it down there. I want to call this a success. Obviously, I could go get my Nano VNA and connect it and test it with the Nano VNA. I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to be satisfied that the radio's not shutting off. That means I'm not grounded off somewhere, and I'm capturing both the repeaters that I tested. I'm thinking, here's the thing. I've been wanting to put the bulletproof mount, the third brake light mount on this truck since I got it. This seems like a very viable solution, and I have another mount just like it for my Ranger, and the Ranger's on the sale block, so it's not like I'm going to need it for that vehicle. I may just make another one of these to put on the driver's side and get both of my VHF, UHF antennas done without having to spend any more money than I already have. Well, no, I'll have to buy the bar stock, but, what's a little bar stock between friends, right? Thanks for coming along with me on this one. Catch you on the next one. 7-3.